Ruth, I'm going to be reading it from her iPad here. And we're here to remember Hollis as we knew him, his spirit, his loves, and his passions in life, not death. We have come here today to scatter the ashes that are all that now remains of the body of our dear Hollis. In a beautiful and ancient rite, we gave his body to the flames. Fire is a visible form of energy, which is the real stuff and true essence of all existence. These ashes are not Hollis. They are merely what remains of the body he wore at the close of his journey here on this earth. Hollis had many bodies. First he had the body of a babe. Gay was thrilled at his birth when she heard them say, "He is just like Gay." She heard Hollis jumping up and down, but then suddenly stopping. When she overheard, look at her, she is happy. It wasn't good to be like Gay, she realized. As a boy, Hollis loved to listen to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer any day of the year. Hollis loved his family with such intensity that some felt smothered. He was a true artist, unique, passionate, and ever reaching out to welcome and sometimes demand others into his world. He was an imperfect human. He had many regrets, especially when it came to his son. He spoke of dreams that one day his son would be happy. Who here hasn't faltered and stumbled? If you can say I, you haven't lived long enough.
Well, that's me.
Finally, this body that it was final for me, I returned to the fire. I'm sorry. There was much in Hollis that was like fire. He believed with all of his heart in things he valued. Now all that was fire, the living fire, now beats in his heart and runs in his veins. The following words might help us send Hollis on his way. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Wherever we are to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference in your tone, where no forced air is a limit to your sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed, the little jokes we enjoyed together. Pray, smile, think of me, pray for me. Listen to my music. Let my music fill your home with my love and my spirit. Let my name be ever present. The household world, where it always was, let it be spoken with effect, without the trace or shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I am waiting for you for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner.
Anyway, so she wrote this and asked me to bring it. She said, for Hollis, with lids fully draped, visualize a moment in time. Cherished memories persist. Communication still exists. Your life is not erased. With love, you are embraced. No longer fraught with fearful thought. Not one more restless night. In the heavens you'll shine so bright. Now, you join your brother, your precious dad and mother. Let's look back again and remember when, so handsome and fair, with music to share. Love, Andre.
This is titled One Proud Moment. There were so many moments that I have felt pride for my youngest brother, but there is one that I remember like it was yesterday. Hollis is, of course, a great and talented artist. He played the clarinet like it was an extension of him. Hollis was going to Baton Rouge High at this time and was set to perform on the stage in front of a large audience. He had invited me, which made me feel special. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. The lights were low and the spotlight was on my brother. There he was with clarinet in hand and a quiet smile on his face. The anticipation was building up inside of me. I couldn't wait to hear the first note that he would play. To my great surprise, my favorite song started to float across the room, Summertime, but a special treat for me. The hair on my arm stood up and tears welled up in my eyes. This is my brother. Can anyone believe the natural talent that he was? I was filled with pride and gratitude. This brief interval of time had a significant effect on me. The smooth music that moved across the auditorium seemed to flow with such grace and perfection. Each note had something to say. Each note transported me to an extraordinary place. a place that I couldn't describe. It was filled with happiness and extreme beauty. I will never forget that moment when the entire place silenced, with each of us hoping that the magic would never end. Not only was your music so remarkable, but to surprise me like this was awesome. Thank you, Hollis, for playing Summertime for me. I have heard it said since then that you and your clarinet were one. I believed that to be true because each time you picked it up, something new, exciting, and uncomparable would happen. I will not forget you or the loving things you did. You enriched my life. I love you, Dee Dee.
And this is the poem that Lester had written the day Hollis passed away.
A gentle soul. Seems when one life has been lived, behind he leaves the sadness of departing from it for the living to find a way of understanding that in death eternal life awaits, without the pain and suffering. Living a life of blindness from birth, he walked among us for 62 moments in time, shared his special gift of his music, his first love he held so dear. Many can say many things of him, but when all is said and done, he was a loving and caring soul. Now he is at peace with his music, so dear, loving us, leaving with us a little of it here, to enjoy when thoughts of him come floating in, like a whisper of wind, bringing his music to us to enjoy. Now, my dear friend, I had the honor of knowing you in life. Now I hold the honor dear, in remembering of the kind and gentle soul you were, sharing of a special gift, a gentle soul among us here, a friend.
I'm glad that Andy read that poem that Lester wrote. Because, I guess as many of you know here, this past few years have been full of a lot of ups and downs. That was the first time that I actually cried when I read that poem that Lester wrote. It just summed a lot of things up. But, we all sitting here listening to his music. He's a jazz musician. And, New Orleans has a tradition of a jazz funeral. And of course, he doesn't have a traditional jazz funeral, but, there's quite often starting out with sadder music, just closer walk with thee, or slower, sadder music, but then it picks up, going to when the saints go marching in and things more happy. Many of you know the last couple of years of my dad's life have been very sad, and I think now we can look at this passing as bringing him to a much happier place than what he was facing in the immediate and facing in the long term. But his music will live on. But I think, we all suffer through a lot of grief right now, knowing that he's passed. But I think we all need to take some solace in knowing that. I think he will be happy knowing that we all, those of us here and those of us who are not here, love him. His memory will live on and his music will live on. And he will be in a much happier place knowing that. And everything. And so, I guess from here, we'll go ahead and play the video.
Remember, Hollis, that it seemed to me that every time you played, you just always just drew people in, and I wonder, why do you think that? Why do you think that was? I mean, because I think it's we can go with story after story, you know, for example, you were talking about the fact that, you know, because you have this, you know, disability of albinism, you had some difficulties with some of your cohorts in junior high and so forth, but when you started playing, you know, that all of a sudden they became your fans. And it seems like, you know, you've had so many fans in your life, and what do you think it is that pulls people in when you play?
To me, music is soul. And I always look at it as being my soul. And I guess it's the fact that, you know, I do put a lot of my feelings in the music, and maybe, you know, people have been able to hear that, you know, and to me, there's a lot of musicians, believe it or not, and some good musicians too, but not always the most creative. Sometimes they can be more creative than they allow themselves. Sometimes some musicians will play the same solo on every on it's time for their solo, and it'll be the same each time they play. And I never could understand when you play jazz music, you're supposed to be creating something different. You know, it's very differently. Yeah, somewhere along the way. But you know, it's some musicians that do that. And I guess, you know, you do the same thing over and over and over again. I guess it just the excitement isn't going to really project as much as you try to play something somewhat differently, you know. I mean, yeah, you can have your arrangements and you feel little things that you do as a band together, different type things like that. That's fine, you know, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about just kind of grabbing, you know, the people by just playing with your soul and with your heart and everything. Whole band to back me up one time. And I was about 12 or 13, probably 13. And I played this in front of the whole school, which, you know, was a good thing. And you were there. You came and heard me play. And everybody in the audience stood up and they stood clapping for a pretty long time. And that was really, from that point on, you know, they, hey, congratulations, that was great. Hey, you know, that was really fun. You sounded great, blah, blah, blah. Coming from these kids, I mean, you know, hey, what? You sure this is me? This
So in some ways,
this white kids, you know, that they always made these fun of all his life, and then all of a sudden they're going to, you know, give me all these compliments and say, hey, well, there must be something to this thing here. I'm just sticking with it.
Did you ever think of doing anything else with, like, you know, sometimes kids think, well, when I grow up I'm going to do this, do that. Did you ever think, when I grow up I'm going to do something else?
It was never a thought in my mind. Once I had a clarinet in my hand, or, you know, and there was music, there was never a thought in my mind that I'd do anything but that. And then, of course, the musicians that know the difference and can intellectually, you know, say it. And so it's knowledge, it's ability on the instruments. It's also the feeling that you put into it, you know, being able to relate. It's just like, you know, you're not a piano player, so you haven't had the ability. I'm not a painter, even though I can appreciate art. I don't think I can really do it, you know. I mean, I don't feel like I didn't do anything. The only time I did anything good in art was when I did a watercolor of a deer, and I made a mistake in some water fell on the page, and it made but it was the best thing in the world because it improved it.
That's serendipity.
And it was great, you know. And then people say, "Oh, this is especially this part."
Why did you do that with the deer?
I was a kid.
I know that you were, you know, you haven't played your clarinet for a little while, and you've had some health crises and other crises and so forth recently, but I'm just wondering if, even though we have no idea what it's going to sound like, I remember, you know, I have to say that I now remember that the first song I heard from you, I think was not Swanee River, it was When the Saints Go Marching In. Can you just to see how it sounds, could you play a few bars for me so I can remember that that was mine? Why not, right? pretty good considering. Do you think? Oh, start something. We know what you've given to it. We know what you've given to others, but what has it given to you?
A sense of identity, self-worth,
Mastery, sir.
creativity, expression, happiness, sadness, and I was fortunate enough that I went my whole life being able to make a living playing music without having to do things like Zoot Sims had to paint houses for a while. You always say I get the last word in.